What's
Wacko?
up? Oh shit. Yeah, like how you just chucked it over there. Nothing much, man. Nothing much. Vancouver Canucks won just yesterday.
They did. That was exciting.
It was the exciting thing since it's been 5 years since they've ever been in the playoffs like that.
How's it?
Yes.
Wow. Well, it's nice to see them back in the playoffs.
It's nice to see them winning.
Yeah, that is nice.
You know, after the riots in 2011, I believe, it was just shit. So that's why I got to represent the team, right? Vancouver all the way.
That's
Sorry,
right.
I forgot to open mine. Shit.
Yeah, and it makes noise when you put it on that table, so don't put anything down on that table. Yeah, that'll work.
Cool, man.
Cool.
We have a number of issues.
A number of issues. We're going to discuss politics today.
Yes, we are.
So we were talking a little bit on the phone about the difference between the left and the right of the political spectrum.
Yes, we were.
And how these political factions are getting quite polarized in the world today. So you've got far left being a powerful movement, and also
far right,
maybe a rise in fascism at the same time. Supposedly, I'm not sure if that's accurate.
I don't think so.
No, because people think that Trump getting elected is a sign that things are moving in a fascist direction.
Yes, it is.
But you happen to not think Trump is such a bad guy.
I think that he has some pros, and I think he has cons as well. But
Right.
We can't judge someone by their negativity.
I don't think he's a fascist, though. He's not. He
don't?
doesn't remind me of a Hitler. He's not quite there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good thing.
That is. So the far left, though, is worrying me. It's troubling me. I think it's making a move to overthrow to bring about the downfall of the society that we live in.
So do you want to talk to
Not just here, but in the United States and in the UK and
Yeah. Do you want to talk to the audience and tell them more about the radical far left?
I would love to. Yeah, so just what I know of it, it was first brought to my attention by Jordan Peterson. Since then, I've heard a number of people speak on it, and some of the weird and bizarre stuff that's going on with that. And then I happened to see it in the universities amongst my professors, and that's one of the reasons why it's really starting to worry me. Because there's some bizarre stuff going on. So what
is it?
Okay, well, I believe that it's rooted in an underlying belief system that is Marxist.
Okay.
And Karl Marx believed that capitalism is an evil system.
I don't think so.
No, he believed that a communist system would be a better, harmonious sort of utopia for us human beings to live in, and that's so he wanted to overthrow that. He wanted to bring about the end of capitalism.
Yes, he did.
Capitalist society.
Hitler wanted to do that as well. He wanted Germany to be powered. He took over Nazi, right, with the Nazis, and basically they wanted to power everyone. Empower them. And that didn't turn out well because apparently they ended up killing the Jews.
Yeah, I mean, Nazi stands for National Socialist.
Yeah.
Right? So socialism. Socialism is the philosophy of Karl Marx, right? It would go into socialism and then eventually communism.
Yeah.
But I don't know how true that was, like if in terms of the economics of it, or if they were just sort of paying lip service to socialism, because I know they were very anti-communist.
Yes, they were very anti-communist.
Like even when they were first formed and Hitler was leading them, they were the fascist side of things. They were definitely not on the far left.
Yeah, definitely. Even after the war, there was complications about that as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know too much about sort of the economics of Nazi Germany, but yeah. So communism, right, and that philosophy, the Marxist philosophy. So what you see is, and this is what Jordan Peterson says. He says that they don't really love to admit that they're Marxist these days. now that there's a shift into what's called postmodernism, and he thinks that's kind of a sneaky move of the Marxist. It has the same underlying sort of framework of this conflict theory that Karl Marx or that began with him, and basically, so Karl Marx talked about the conflict between the rich and the poor, the capitalist and the bourgeois and the proletariat, right? And so instead of that being the central focus of the conflict, this postmodernism now has something called identity politics. So their conflict theory is the conflict between groups of identities. So you have black people, you have basically in terms of race and gender, right? And then so you have all this conflict between these different groups and the different amounts of power. So you hear about white privilege and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You've heard this kind of talk, like basically if you're a white male, you're highly privileged, right?
Yes, you
and
are.
your pain basically doesn't matter as much as the
Yes.
pain of someone who's less privileged than you.
Yeah, I've
Right?
heard of that. In fact, the role of women kind of abrupted after World War One and World War Two, because essentially all the women back then were in the home front, making all those weapons for the soldiers who were, fighting up in Europe. But yeah, no, that's where it kind of came from. This ideology of empowering women in a society, and whereas men or the spenders in a family kind of came from that World War. Actually, World War II is when the women were the creators of those ship hulls, and the riveters, which was the hardest job, was played by a woman. And
Right. Well, all the women were employed at that time because
yes.
we needed as much
actually,
labor
the
as we could.
labor force was all women, actually.
Yeah.
Numbers never seen before.
Right.
So it was crazy.
So you think that was a big shift from
I think it was
women
the
being at
biggest shift,
home?
because the first woman was in Parliament after World War One and World War Two, I believe. That's when it kind of came in, the role of woman, right? So I think that was the major shift. Before then, women were not as publicized as the spenders in the family.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. As the spenders, that's I've heard that a lot of people don't realize it, but women actually control most of the spending still to this day.
Yes,
women
they do, but
make most of the consumer decisions.
As in spending, I mean, like, who's the owner of that money? It's like the husband. Whereas the woman, demands whatever they need for, food and shelter or whatever. But in terms of, spending, I think it's controlled by the male.
Still to this day, even after all the strides that feminism has taken.
Not now, especially not now. I think the shift happened after World War One, and that's led to what we have now, essentially, which is a society where women and men both have equal status. To some extent, some parts there isn't that, but I think it's changed,
right,
tremendously.
Yeah. So one of the things that it seems like is that there's this underlying Marxist vein, right, and it's in the guise of something called postmodernism, and what it does is it co-opts these other movements like feminism, and Black Lives Matter, etc. The founders of Black Lives Matter will say, if you go to their website and watch their video, that they're trained Marxists.
Okay.
And what do Marxists want? They want to overthrow capitalism, capitalist society. They want to end it and put something new in its place.
So something new as in
they
communism?
They believe that there's a utopia that would spring up in its place somehow if they were to bring down
communism. Never works, though. We've seen it firsthand.
I just watched a video today. Brett Weinstein, I mentioned him on another podcast, and he was saying we shouldn't say actually that it doesn't work.
Okay.
Because North Korea exists.
Yep.
And it persists.
Yes.
And it works. But it's not a good place. It's not somewhere that I would want to live.
Of course, you wouldn't
right?
want to live there.
You wouldn't want to live there. And China, we were debating on whether it's communist or capitalist, but it was definitely a terrible, horrible, awful communist revolution that killed, tens of millions of people, that led to what China is today. And it hasn't, it's not a nice place. You don't want to live in China, right? And although you could argue as well that one of the reasons why it does persist is because they they basically shifted into capitalist practices, and
Yes, they did.
so their government. So that's why I called it state capitalism, because it's the government controlled, but it's capitalist in the way it operates, and so that's one of the reasons why it works, right?
That's an interesting way of governing, I think. Like,
It's totalitarian, though.
yeah,
It's like, do you want to live in
totalitarianism.
that, or
Yeah.
would you rather live in a democracy?
No, I would want to live in a democracy, but
Yeah.
China's government is totalitarian.
Yeah.
But like, if you think about it, their economy is crazy because I don't know.
Do you
if
think it
COVID
benefits the majority of the people there, though? I don't think so.
Not so much.
No.
Not
And
so much.
and
I
so the only
think
way.
they've created a name for themselves, whereas the people there are the slaves, I guess. you
Yeah,
could say.
exactly. So the one of the things that they said too is that communism only works with when it's enforced. So it
Yeah.
involves coercion and threat of violence. It's the only way. There's no carrot in that system, right? Like in a capitalist system, we have a carrot and a stick. If you do a bad thing, we'll punish you. But mainly, we're all driven to succeed. We're chasing that carrot, right?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's
Cool.
that sort of thing. The only way that a communist system works, state, they believe that in order to get people to do the right thing, they need to be controlled by the state. And so in Russia, again, tens of millions of people died, and they had this gulag system, right? So there was the constant threat that you would be sent to the gulags, work camps.
I think in today's modern society, people would not appreciate being controlled by the state, especially I think a capitalist society with a democracy is a good way of governing. It's a good governing body.
Yeah.
But whereas China, they don't even allow certain social medias, especially social media. It has such a big influence on people. Nowadays, if a civilian gets punished by a law officer or the police officer, right? Everything's on camera, and you've seen it firsthand. You pull your camera, you pull your phone out on these guys. They get tremendously, harassed by social media, and I think these civil law officers who work in these positions of the government, they're humans too, right? But I think it's just not going to work because there would be too much controversy and allegations and everything between society, the civilians, and the government.
But
whereas
it's the force, it's the violence that makes those things happen. So it's a threat, it's a possibility, and man, you see it. It's dark if you start to get into what's going on and the actual power that this ideology is gaining in society. It's scary, man.
It is scary.
Like, defund the police. Why?
Exactly, and you showed me these statistics. We were looking at them firsthand. What was the place's name again?
What?
It starts with an O. That place where they had no police. And
Chaz.
Chaz
In Capitol Hill of Seattle.
Seattle.
Yeah.
So there was no police there because there were protests about defund the police, and the murder rate and the killing rate and the deaths spiked up.
Yeah, well, they had murders there because there was no police, and so the murder rate in this place called Chaz was like 2,000. It was a lot of people per 100,000, right?
Yeah, so we have
50 times higher than
Chicago. Statistics for this. I'm not saying defund the police. I'm not even actually arguing
but
for that.
Here's the thing. I'm saying that there's an underlying ideology that wants the whole capitalist system, the whole society that we live in, to crumble and disappear.
That is not a good thing.
They think that something beautiful and harmonious will arise in its place, but
those guys
that
are
isn't
idiots.
what happened. Well, yeah.
Who the hell are those people?
They're people. They're people who will be your teachers in university if you go.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So if these teachers are the educators of the new generations that are going to be born into society, then we're essentially all fucked.
Well, they have been for a long time, and it's
have.
a problem because these people are now going out into human resources departments and into government and into these other places.
Text. This is just a cycle if you think about it. Like,
well, yeah.
Well, exactly. So then, yeah.
And the police
it's
were defunded in several places. And the craziest things are happening.
interesting.
Like cancel culture is all wrapped up with this.
Don't agree, man. I don't agree.
It's scary stuff
It's
if you
messed
think
up.
about it. So, but
Defund the
defunding,
police.
yeah, that's the craziest idea. So they see, one cop that misbehaves and taking away the funding of the police. So you have something that's maybe not functioning at it optimally.
Yes.
And so the idea is to take its funding away. Well, that is a way to guarantee that it stops functioning altogether.
Exactly.
And what their agenda is to have the whole society crumble, to have everything fall apart. That's what they want.
Trump calls this the radical left.
That's what it is. It is
Yes.
radical.
Yeah.
Radical means it seeks extreme change.
Yes, it does. And this has not just been over the course of a few months, not just because of the Black Lives Movement. If you think about it, it's been happening for years.
Years and years.
Years and years.
Yeah.
Possibly even when America was established, right? And, we see this, all these people get together at these protests, and we see them, arguing. And that protest, how long was it? Wasn't that long?
Less than a month.
Less than a month.
They took over 7 city blocks.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
And then the police obviously have to, come in there and stop that bullshit, because a peace protest is different from, looting stores and shit like that. That is wrong, right? Now, that's just building another name for yourself. Like, why would you do that, right? Like, why would you ruin your people? Like, in the Sikh community, if one Sikh does something wrong, it's very hard to kind of get out of that underlying image that people have of us. And, that's why it's very important that we say conservative and, just behave in society like society wants us to. And if there's something wrong, obviously we'll talk about it. But, I'm just saying you can't have a protest that's violent.
Well, just think of, like, they took over 7 city blocks. They barricaded. They spray painted windows. They didn't let the police in. Someone is shot in the city of Chaz, the temporary city of Chaz, and they wouldn't let the police in. They were obstructing the police from entering after someone was shot.
It's quite horrendous.
It is. It is, and they're actually defunding police departments. That is not going to make anything
And
better.
you know what Trudeau
That's
said
insane.
to that? He said, we're not going to defund the police.
Of course, that's
because
crazy.
He's a smart guy. Why would, he's a critical thinker. Like, even Trump's, he's a good thinker. Obviously, he's not going to defund the police. He's the one who called in the police.
Yeah.
He's called in the National Guard to stop all those protests. And people are obviously going to explode things on media, especially the news channels.
Yeah.
They're gonna explode them. And I think it's messed up.
Have you heard these people talking about white privilege and that sort of thing, that sort of rhetoric?
Like white people are saying racist things about them, or just the white people?
No, they're the ones saying racist things about
Yes.
about white people. Like, it's insane. They're anti-racist, and it's a sort of new religion, right? They're anti-racist, but they are the racists. They're like, nobody else is thinking about people of different races
Exactly.
in those ways. Like, we treat all people like people and base our judgments on them by the quality of their character, not the color of their skin.
Exactly. And I've seen this firsthand. Like, I'm a person of color. My parents immigrated here, and I've talked about this on the previous podcast. But yeah, it's not just all white people, because we can't say that. It's not all black people, because we can't say that, right? It's a group. It's a group that they've created. It's like a cult. It's a cult of black people, and it's a cult of white people. There's certain gangs. Yes, they involve black people, but you can't just make all black people. You can't view them with that image. And essentially, white people. There's like certain states, red states, you can call them, right?
Those are the red states, are the Republican states.
No,
and blue is the Democratic, the liberal states.
So then, yeah. So I guess I don't know what state it was. I think it was the state of, it wasn't California. It was some state. I forgot the name. I think it was Florida. Not Florida, maybe. I don't know. But you see one black guy there, he will literally get shot by a white guy. They cannot stand.
Racism is a real problem.
It's a big problem, especially in the United States. It's the biggest problem in the United States, and you can see this. Like, if you held a Black Lives poster, you would get at least it was a social experiment, and basically this white guy was holding a Black Lives poster, and he was like, "What about white lives? Hey!" Like, he got so much backlash. And it was just amazing to see, why, what causes these people to say these things? Like, why can't they just have the ability to accept anyone or everyone?
So the guy who said white lives matter
No, Black Lives Matter.
got the backlash. Who got the backlash?
The backlash was the white lives matter, because he was holding, essentially, this was after the protest. He was like, Black Lives Matter in this state of where these white people live, and they hate black people, so no one there who is black can live there. It's just they'll get killed.
What is the neighborhood?
I have the video. I have it on Instagram.
Yeah, send it to me.
I will definitely send it to you. And a bunch of cars pass, and they middle finger him, they flip him off, they swear at him. Some guy actually came out of his car, beat the shit out of him, holding the sign. Was quite funny, but whatever. And there was this just black guy walking. He's an old guy with a cane. Some guy comes up and shoots him. He didn't even say anything. Like, the video's there, the proof is there.
He got shot?
He just got shot, and he's laying there. The guy filmed it. He was like, "Get out the streets! What are you doing here?" And obviously he has bad hearing. He just keep walking, but he just came out of the car and shot him. It was so violent. You won't even, you'll think of it. You'll have bad dreams about this. That's how you'll have nightmares. Literally.
Was he killed?
He was killed.
Wow.
He just came out with the gun. You could see the gun. You could see the video, and it was taken down off of Instagram.
Yeah.
But
I'm not. I don't pay attention to everything that goes on down there because I would probably go insane. But I'll watch that.
No, I will send it to you. It's quite crazy. There's actually this YouTube channel, not a YouTube channel, Instagram channel that posts things, awareness. There's this black guy. He's tied to a tree with a rope upside down, and he's being whipped by the white people in the community. It's quite sad. So this stuff exists, and the black people would never do this. They respect the society. They respect the community and the environment.
Well, what you're doing is you're talking about black people as a single solitary group, and that's problematic. That's group politics, right? Like
it is.
That's identity politics. So there is like people are individuals, right?
Yeah, but you can't. It's identity politics. Yes, it's classism.
If you're going to judge people by their group, then no one's innocent. Then there's no end to it. Everyone's guilty, and that's not a good way.
It's not a good way. Yeah, I understand, but to understand the underlying issue, you have to consider two different separate parties. Like, you can't. People won't become educated if they're just gonna be like, well, he's the same as you. Like, nobody's gonna agree to that. Then they're just gonna ignore it. Like, it's an ignorance that people have within them. And I feel like it's not everyone, it's just some people. And to kind of, if we kind of instigate, like, oh my God, he's just like he's a human, right? They're not going to agree. You got to have some separate class, and then you're going to bring them together in a way. I don't know that way, but you got to figure it out,
Yeah, I don't know what the solution to racism is. I don't know, but yeah, so I just see this anti-racism thing as like it's like a religion.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
It's not good at all. I can't say it's a religion though, because a religion is a way of life. That's not a way of life.
It is.
How is being black a way of life?
No, anti-racism.
Okay.
Anti-racism is a way of life, and it's a religion that's being taught at universities by the professors, and it's
what
this
is anti-racism?
This postmodernism thing. Okay, so man, there's this guy named James Lindsay, and I watched a whole Joe Rogan episode with him. He's talks about how crazy it is, this anti-religion thing, right? So basically what it does is it ends up attacking all kinds of people.
Yeah.
Um, and okay, I unfortunately I'm not the perfect person
Answer that.
to explain it, but it's like a religion. My friend Matt actually posts about this a lot. He's very very up to date on this whole, like, the whole radical left situation, and it is part of the radical left, this anti-racism cult thing. So there, because it's all about diversity and inclusion and equity, right?
Okay.
And so they give it the acronym DIE, the DIE cult. Okay, diversity, equity, inclusion cult. So basically, like, all this. So diversity. They want to make sure that there's people of different races and different genders in positions, right? And that would be at the expense of more qualified people, right? They believe that that everyone should have an equal outcome, right? This is part of
Yeah.
this utopian communist
An equal
ideal.
outcome.
Yeah,
Right. An equal outcome.
right.
So, I think I think there's a difference here. Um, since the European settlers were the first in America, right?
Yeah,
Uh, they are considered the wealthier people, and people from other Asian countries, Africans who came to America, or any other people for that matter. I think they're considered as the lower class, the poverty people below the poverty line, and kind of it's a class system, right? The rich, middle, poor, middle, and rich. Sorry, and I think that they're considered in the below the middle, and the middle class are the white people. And when you mean equal, I think a lot of people also take it into financial things. Do you think so? I think financial crisis is a huge problem, and it classifies people in different categories of the system.
yeah. But what are, like, what's the point of like, yes, people have different economic status, but that doesn't mean you have to judge them based on that, and it doesn't mean that they can't, by the merits of their actions or the merits of their abilities and skills, reach a different socioeconomic class. The idea is that it's because of racism. So that's another thing about anti-racism, is that it puts everything down to racism. Everything is because of racism. That's their part of their ideology, which is not accurate. There's many more factors than racism that leads to people's outcomes. But that's what, and race. They think that race is what leads to the outcome. So if you're white, then you'll have a successful outcome, and if you're a different race, you'll more likely have and they think that's because of racism. They're ignoring the fact that there are many different factors.
Yes. And California state was just looking at these statistics. It turns out that black people are sentenced harsher sentences for a crime that was equal to what a white guy would commit, and he was given probation, whereas the black guy was sentenced in jail time, which is quite crazy. I think it's totally unfair.
So
and
this
and this is the government that is doing this. This is the county. This is the judge who's doing this. So if it's not just the people.
Yeah.
It's the government.
It's
And
the
it's
institutions
the
and the criminal justice system. I'd have to look at that. I'd have to look at that.
You gotta look at it. It's crazy. It's
Well,
quite crazy.
because what I'm saying is that's the type of thing that this anti-racism.
I feel like it's rooting from these criminal justice institutions. It is. Because there's people in higher places. Police officers, I can understand why people are saying defund the police, because these are the reasons. But these are just some branches.
Yeah, there's a lot to get into, like a lot of research to be done there, because and Brett Weinstein, I've seen him, he does a conference with a lot of black intellectuals, because many of them have different perspectives on this, right?
Yeah.
There's one that I was watching who thinks that that's not accurate. That's not the way things are. So if that does ever happen, it's a very small percentage of the time. Race has very little to do with why things run, why things are the way they are. And he's a black intellectual. And there's other people who probably, have differing perspectives, but
Interesting.
I'd have to watch it. There's a whole.
Yeah, no, and kind of the whole idea of, I think UBI. Let's talk about that and how like they're trying to end poverty and kind of creating society and raising the levels. I can say, but yeah, I don't agree with. I don't agree with UBI.
Yeah, you said that already.
Yes.
We were just watching Andrew Yang this morning.
Yes, we were.
We watched how much of it? About 25 minutes?
We watched 25 minutes, yeah. Or
Yeah.
30.
Of a 2-hour thing. And I've urged you to watch the whole thing, and I want to discuss it with you after you have.
Yes.
Because I think Andrew Yang is sensible, and he's more sensible than anyone who hasn't looked at all the data and just says that they disagree with UBI.
Yeah. No, but what data is there? Like, we don't have data.
Yeah, we do.
That's
we do.
just
All
estimation. It's not real time data. Like even Andrew Yang, it's estimated by 2030. He said estimated.
Yeah,
it's
but
an estimate.
You didn't hear what he said. He said that all of the institutions that have done their research, they agree. All their numbers are very close to each other, which means they're probably right. And if you talk
was COVID predicted? Were there institutions that said we were going to get it this day and that this many people were going to die?
This is why I would love for you to watch the whole thing, because Andrew Yang points out he's hung out with the presidents. He's hung out in the White House. He worked there. Now listen. He hung out with them. He's hung out with the Silicon Valley people. They say yes, we're going to automate all the jobs away. The politicians.
I agree.
They say we're going to automate all the jobs away.
I agree. Automation is coming.
So
it's going to be a new revolution.
Yeah. So we're talking about how these truckers are going to kill themselves. Many of them are going to kill themselves.
Okay.
Right. And many other people who get displaced, as they do. This is because this is what we see historically from manufacturing and everything. Suicide goes way up. Right. Bad outcomes for these people. They can't get retrained. So what happens when 83% of jobs disappear? What happens to those people?
Well, they're essentially fucked.
Right. So you know what? Then the radical left is going to bring about the downfall of society, and then we are all fucked, because then we live in North Korea.
Yes, we do.
Right.
So then why? Because Andrew Yang, actually Joe Rogan was talking about the kind of the derivative of how, humans are going to want to work towards something, and they want the incentive, like, I've changed something in the world, like today. Like, they're not going to feel that. And Andrew Yang was talking about,
Joe Rogan is for UBI.
But he wasn't at that time.
He was.
I agree.
He was 100% for it through that entire conversation. 100% for it, okay? And because you didn't watch the whole thing, but
yeah, well, I didn't.
He's just making these counterpoints just so that Andrew Yang could answer them, and you didn't really listen carefully to the answers. So, $1,000 a month is not enough for people to say, well, I don't have to work anymore, but now my life is pointless, so fuck everything. No, it's enough for them to get their kids to daycare. It's enough for them to pay their bills. You know what he said? He said that you can measure a person's IQ, and then you can give them a bill that they can't pay. You can show them a bill that they can't pay, and you can give them another IQ test, and their IQ drops 1 standard deviation, 13 points. Their IQ drops. They become less intelligent, less useful people when they have a bill they can't pay. So what he's saying is that if you give them $1,000 a month, see, people don't think when they're struggling to survive and have a bunch of unpaid bills, they don't think, you know what I need to do? I need to start a business. I'm going to start a business now so that I can get out of this crippling debt. That's not what they think, right? But if you give them $1,000 a month and you pay those unpaid bills, they might have that opportunity to actually start a business. Okay. And also they'll be braver. They'll think, well, if this business fails, at least I'll be getting my $1,000 dividend every month. Yeah, there's so much good logic there.
It's taking money from the poor and giving it to the rich, and it's depriving them.
That's insane. That's insane that you say that. That's absolutely not true.
Them
no,
of the support that
it's
they
not
need.
Taking from the poor and giving to the rich.
Yes, it is.
It's giving $1,000 a month to the poor. Do you think that the people who need it which is most people, by the way. It's most people. Most people need it. But do you think that they're the ones who are going to be paying much in taxes? They're not. And he's also saying he's going to specifically tax those tech companies that are benefiting. He's going to take the money from the rich and give it to the poor.
Well, then that's not universal.
Yes, it is. That's where the taxes come from. But the universal aspect is the fact that 1,000 goes to everybody. And you have to opt in. So if you're,
but the rich are also getting that 1,000 back.
And you have to opt in. So if you're a rich guy who takes that $1,000, whatever, right? Whatever. If you give it, maybe you take it and you want to give it to charity. But it doesn't really matter that much because the rich are such a small proportion of people. There's such a small percentage of people. This is the poor that's going to benefit from this.
Okay, so I'm reading something here. It says, according to Robert Greenstein, president of Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, if you take the dollars targeted on people in the bottom fifth or 2/5 of the population and convert them to universal payments to people all the way up the scale, you are redistributing income upward. See? So you're redistributing all that income back to the rich, and that would increase poverty and inequality rather than reduce them. So
can you repeat that argument?
You want me to repeat it all?
Just explain the point of it.
Okay.
Why does he think it's going up?
So Robert Greenstein says if you take the dollars targeted on people in the bottom fifth or
what does that mean? The dollars targeted?
Well, it means the dollars targeted to the classes.
What do you mean the dollars targeted to the classes?
So the universal basic income. It's gonna
be $1,000 a month that goes to everybody.
Yeah, targeted.
What do you mean targeted?
To everyone.
Yeah, it's gonna be given to everyone.
To everyone, yeah. So take the dollars targeted on people in the bottom fifth or 2/5. So we're talking about the middle, I guess, or the low class, right, of the population, and convert them to universal payments to people all the way up the income scale. You're redistributing income upward.
That's ridiculous. That's not true. And middle class people need this. Middle class people need an extra $1,000 a month. The rich don't, but it doesn't make much of a difference if you give it to them. The rich are such a small proportion of people.
They will need universal basic. They will need the $1,000 if they didn't have a job. If they have a job, people are living right now. We have a perfect society. It's working out.
People who work are very often deep in debt. They could use an extra $1,000 a month.
Yes, they are. No, they cannot. What's $1,000 going to do? Nothing. Bills.
Then why not give it to them?
Because BC Hydro is like, if you look at BC Hydro, their electricity bills have gone up by a certain percentage. Fortis BC, they've been charging more as well. Everything's going up. Like the scale from what 1920s to what it is now is crazy. It's crazy. So people that's what you're talking about, the $1,000 when people don't have jobs, when that 83% of jobs are all
I have
automated.
a job. I have income, but an extra $1,000 a month helps me tremendously. It helps me, start a new venture.
People are in debt for reasons. That's how society works. That's how our economy works.
You want to get into the reasons people are in debt? Do you know the Federal Reserve banking system?
I did not know the details.
Okay. Well, it's crazy. So basically, the whole economy runs on debt. The whole economy runs on debt. When money is added to the system, it's loaned by. This is in the United States, but similar practices exist in Canada. So the Federal Reserve loans it to the government.
Yep.
And charges a debt on that. But actually, they create that money. They create that money out of thin air.
Yes, they do.
And then they create a debt at the same time.
Exactly.
So $1 billion is created, $1 billion of debt is created, and then interest is charged. So what you've done just now is you've created more debt than money. There is much more debt than money in existence. So what does that mean when you have more debt than money in existence?
It means that the economy is working. Because it's a cycle. You got to pay your debt. Money comes into the economy. It's a cycle.
Right, but it's
a working
sound
cycle.
A little bit like slavery to you?
No,
so you've got more debt in existence than money.
I think UBI is more of a slavery type of thing. Because Joe Rogan talks about this. He's like, aren't we gonna be like, Or people want to work. Like people want that sense of accomplishment. I think people are gonna be. I don't think it's good. Earning an honest living is good.
You'll still need to.
You agree?
You just
with
said,
me.
what's $1,000? That's nothing.
Yeah, it isn't, especially in today's society.
Right. So where's the disappearance of earning a decent living? Where does that go away?
Earning a decent living.
Yeah, I said universal basic income is good.
Yeah,
You said it's not good
it's
because
not
people
good
need to
because
earn
people need to. People like accomplishments. People, that's what drives them in a society. Accomplishments of their children getting educated, them getting a career. If there are no careers and people are just
Did you
going to
know
get paid,
that something 44%, so half of people that get out of university don't get a job. They get a job that they could have gotten before they went to university,
Yeah.
and they've got $100,000 of debt.
okay, all right, but still, there's still accomplishment.
Do you know
You've
how
got
much?
a degree?
Do you know how that there's
Like
more
okay, so
student loan debt right
Yes.
now than there ever has
There-
been? You
yes,
know
I
how
do.
much it is?
I do not know the percentage, but I know it's very high. 33%.
33 what? No. Do you know how much student debt exists?
I don't know the exact.
University today is a big racket because no one's ever going to be able to pay back their student loans. There's no jobs, and like we've been discussing, all the jobs are going to disappear.
Earned income motivates people to work, to be successful, to cooperate with colleagues and gain skills. However, if we pay people unconditionally to do nothing, they will do nothing.
Right. That's why it's $1,000 and not $3.
Yeah.
That's why it's $1,000 and not $3. It's $1,000 to keep society existing. Do you want society to exist?
It's going to exist no matter what.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
This society is
listen,
working like the society that was working in like the 1980s and the 60s. It's obviously advanced with more technology and more automation, but I feel like we're at a good place right now.
Really. Have you ever seen what a communist or a fascist revolution looks like?
Not firsthand.
No?
Have you?
No, but I've read a lot about it.
Okay.
And it's not nice.
Yes, it's not nice.
And we're in danger of that right now.
I think we're never going to be in danger of that. Like,
wow, you're not really aware of what's going on then.
well, what's nothing's going to happen. Like,
You don't think so?
What's happening right now?
Wait till you
We're
hear
in
these
a
people talk.
global pandemic.
Wait till you hear these people talk, okay?
Okay.
I have met many people who, including professors,
Okay.
who think that the capitalist system should end.
The
and
rich are never going to agree
who
to
also think that violence and bloodshed during revolution would be a good thing because of what would come after it. And that is the very mentality of the communists who had revolutions in Cambodia, in China, in Russia, which caused over 100 million people to die suffering, to die terribly in the 20th century. This is not something to be taken lightly. This is a real threat.
Okay.
100 million people. Can you fathom that?
Yes, I can fathom that.
Yeah, it's a threat.
But
It's
look,
real.
this is one person, Andrew Yang, you're listening to.
No, I'm listening to a lot of people.
So look, PhD professors are disagreeing with UBI. Like, okay, Professor Charles Y. Ploys, PhD professor of international economics at the Graduate Institute of Geneva, Switzerland. You know, Switzerland has one of the best professors in the world. Their education system is above any country in the world.
You're appealing to authority right now.
No, I'm
Let's
not.
go back to the data.
Economist.
Yes, you are. You're saying this man said it and he's educated.
Well,
it's
all
good.
right. So, says that a strong economy relies on people being motivated to work hard, and that's true. You know
You don't
that.
think Andrew Yang's aware of that?
No, well, yeah, okay. So, and in order to motivate people, there needs to be an element
Incentives.
of uncertainty for the future. UBI providing guaranteed security removes this uncertainty.
Hey, okay. I'll concede. Maybe it's true, but
Yeah, I know.
I don't think $1,000 a
think
month.
we
I think
can't
$1,000 a month wouldn't
It would
take
make
away people's
people.
uncertainty. It wouldn't any of these things. Like, nobody wants to be at the lowest level of society. And if the lowest level of society is $1,000 a month, you live in, first of all, you live in a better place, man. You really do. Trust me.
With
Because
UBI,
you live in a better place when the
people
bottom rung,
people are getting $2,000
the
right now.
uncertainty that
wait,
people are
wait,
going
wait.
to have.
We can relate it right now. People are getting $2,000 a month, correct?
Yeah.
How different? How much big of a difference? My parents are getting 2,000. We are just literally hanging on the brink there because, well, not hanging on the brink. Obviously, we're paying our bills, but that's how much you would earn as a having a job. So, and actually, this is firsthand experience. My dad says you actually turn into a lazy piece of shit by sitting at home, going to work, waking up in the morning, coming home tired, is an accomplishment every single day.
That's all well and good and true, but if somebody's at home right now with the CERB, it's because they can't work. It's because
exactly.
of coronavirus.
So they're not going to be able to work when UBI is introduced. 83% of jobs is all going to be gone because of automation.
No, that's not the point. It's first of all, it's not enough. It's not enough. We're not talking about paying for everything for people. We're talking about giving them a minimal safety net, which is necessary.
Why?
Otherwise, society will collapse.
No, it's not collapsing. It's not. It's not going to be collapsing.
What do you think happens when we have 83% unemployment?
We're not going to get there. Canada's introduced over 1 million jobs in the last year. 2019. Yes, people have been left unemployed.
Then you don't know
that
the
was
statistics.
that was because of a global pandemic. Obviously, many people. I think when was this podcast recorded, Andrew Yang?
Listen,
I just gotta check this out.
the trend is not reversing. The trend is increasing, and all those projections say 83% of jobs will be gone. And if you really think that they're being replaced, you should read The End of Work by Jeremy Rifkin, or you should listen more to that guy. They're not coming back. The jobs aren't coming back, but that doesn't mean that people won't employ themselves in valuable, constructive ways if universal basic income was employed.
Another thing is UBI is way too expensive to handle for the government to be introduced. And I have the statistics right here.
Go ahead.
So there's a lot to this, but sorry, it's not actually written properly here. There's actually okay. $2,000 a month per head of household UBI would cost an estimated 2.275 trillion annually, says Mark Yoffie, MBA and MPA director of policy research at the California Policy Center. Says that some of this cost could be offset by eliminating federal, state, and local assistance programs. However, Yoffie's calculation says that these offsets total only $810 billion, leaving a net budget cost of over $1.4 trillion for a universal basic income program. And then there's a lot of shit down there. In 2016 preliminary debate, UK Minister of Employment Damien Hinds rejected the idea of UBI, saying that the estimated implementation costs ranging from 8.2 billion euros to 160 billion euros are clearly unaffordable. So that was already denied by the UK, which is quite funny to me.
It's not funny. It's not surprising either that people would not have the foresight to understand that it's going to be necessary.
These are governments who are saying these. I think they've considered every possibility.
Oh, they definitely have not. They haven't thought it through.
You think they haven't thought it through?
No.
Especially with today's modern society?
Yeah, no. Like these jobs are rapidly disappearing and they won't be replaced. The only solution is universal basic income. It will need to be implemented, but it might be too late by the time that it is. And if it's too late, then society will break down. It will be too unstable.
Okay, so inequality about UBI. Some wonder if it is really fair to give the same amount of money to billionaires as those who are born into poverty. Does Bill Gates really need extra money each month? Some believe that a certain accumulation of wealth should show you have outgrown UBI.
What does that mean? A certain
It's saying
accumulation of wealth should show you have
it's saying
outgrown
like
UBI.
should Bill Gates get $1,000 every month?
He can opt out of it. It's opt in.
Doesn't matter. Why would he opt out of it?
To not look like an asshole.
Okay, so now people are caring about what society thinks about him.
Maybe not, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter if the rich get it. It doesn't matter. What matters is that everybody else gets it. That's what matters. Because if they don't,
taxes that the poor pay and the middle class members are going to be affected most because they're going to be paying the taxes, the middle taxes. They're going to be paying the taxes.
No, Andrew Yang is saying that the companies that produce the technologies that everyone should benefit from will get the taxes.
Which is the rich class, right?
No, it's the companies that produce the technologies that everyone should benefit from.
It's not going to work, dude. It's not going to work. Like, you can't implement technology and just charge the technology companies. Like, where are they going to get the goddamn money? People are going to pay them? How's it going to work?
Everybody pays the technology. That's the point. Okay, so Amazon is getting all the money.
Yes.
Right? The malls are disappearing. 30% of malls are going to be gone in a few months.
Okay.
According to Andrew Yang back then.
So people are not going to have jobs. How are they going to buy things?
What? People are not going to have jobs? Well, that's the problem, isn't it? And that's why you need to give them that $1,000 a month. No, otherwise, they can't buy things. Exactly. And then you know what they're going to do?
So $1,000
you know what they're going to do?
Is going to make
they're going to hit the streets. They're going to hit the streets in massive numbers.
No, they're going to hit the streets with $1,000 hanging in their pockets every month. That's what they're going to do.
They're going to start businesses because they wouldn't be able to if they didn't have that money.
People don't have the education to start a business. If they had the education to start a business, they would start the business instead of going to university.
No, they wouldn't because they're too busy. They're too busy trying to take care of their kid, trying to get their kids, daycare and everything.
People who go to university don't have kids. Well, some of them do, but most of them don't.
We're not talking about people in university. I'm talking about people who are working, people who would love to do something more, but they just can't because they don't have the
philosophical counter arguments. Is money a birthright? Capitalist countries are built on the ideological foundation that money is something we earn. UBI would completely change this. Some believe that community service should be a requirement for receiving UBI. So that's just more work involved now.
Yeah.
So it's just a messed up thing. Like,
What's a messed up thing is that all the jobs are disappearing. What are you going to do about that? If you're president tomorrow, what are you going to do about the fact that 83% of jobs disappear?
I'm going to stop making them disappear.
Can't.
Yeah, you can.
No, you can't.
Trump did it. I read you the statistics just a couple of days ago. Podcast number 3.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, I did. He created over 1 billion jobs. Not 1 billion, but created a lot of jobs.
Yeah, no. See, you don't know your numbers.
Yes,
jobs
I do.
Jobs are disappearing.
I named those numbers, dude. I gave you those numbers.
Yeah, and statistic.
I gave you literally.
I can argue that
15 little numbers, separate numbers. I gave you them.
Yeah, I can argue that because very often statistics about unemployment are deceiving and intentionally deceiving, especially when they're coming from the government.
These are not.
They are. Okay, so what I'm saying is that
we have the people saying literal speeches the people saying that, yes, he's given us jobs.
If you don't realize that automation is going to eliminate 83% of existent jobs and very few new jobs will be created. If you don't realize that it's far outpacing the recreation of jobs, you don't understand what's happening in the economy.
So did you know that Canada ran a trial of UBI? UBI trial in Manitoba, Canada showed that a modest reduction in workers along with fewer hospitalizations and mental health diagnosis. Yes. In her book. Okay, never mind. This is a quote. This is quoting a book. Never mind. Sorry.
It's also saying positive things about the UBI experiment.
But it's a book. So yeah.
Whatever.
There was this. Okay, listen to this.
Okay, because you're thinking that the jobs are going to be replaced. I'm telling you right now they're not because you don't have the data. But all you need is to see the numbers.
Yes.
Then you'll know.
But you're the one who's just saying that these numbers are not factual and that they're
Hey, they're projections. No. Okay. No, I'm saying that when the government gives you its unemployment statistics,
yeah,
that they're manipulated.
So they're manipulated But when they
But
give you
the numbers of
statistics
jobs
they're
that are
not.
disappearing are not manipulated. Those are numbers of jobs that are disappearing, and those are trends that you can see and statistically analyze honestly, which is
Yes.
what people like Jeremy Rifkin in The End of Work have
Look,
done, and
you
what Andrew Yang has done.
okay, let's say if you have 10 pros of UBI being a good thing, right? Pros, a positive thing, and if you have 9 cons, I don't think that's a very good thing because look at the numbers, dude.
There's no 9 cons of UBI.
I'm
All
just
your
I'm giving
objections,
I'm giving you an example. I'm
all
giving
your
you an example.
objections
If
are
there
answerable.
if there are 10 pros and there are 2 cons, then go right to hell. Like do it, dude.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. But
Yeah.
if there's 9 cons and there's 10 pros, then what the fuck is the point? There's people missing out. There's people still being left out of this.
So the other thing is like, okay, so you're talking about the cost of it, right? Remember, all that money is back into the economy.
Yeah, you're saying there's
All
a new
that
standard
money
of
doesn't
living,
disappear.
right? You're
That
saying
money,
that there's a new standard of living, correct? It's not going to be like because the prices are being inflated. Life is going to be more shit. We see that gas prices are going up.
right? So what's your point?
My point is that if we're given $1,000, I think prices are going to be inflated. Like, if people are going to the malls, correct?
Yeah.
And if everything is automated, prices are going to have to be inflated because more shipments are going to be coming in to these warehouses, and then once again they're going to be shipped out to the homeowner, and then they're going to be delivered. There's going to be this huge system.
Why do you
that
think
needs to be
prices
put in
go
place.
up when these companies are selling more?
What do you mean?
Well, so you're talking about there's more money to go around, and
No, I'm saying that there's
then they're going to raise the prices?
Yes. They're going to raise the prices, and we already see that online delivery is very expensive, especially by airplane, and it's cheaper by shipment of on container ships.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but
It is.
can you not see the basic logic here?
Okay.
Everybody loses their job. They have zero income. Zero income.
Zero income.
So
Okay.
we're talking about 10 years into the future here when everybody has lost their job. What do you think they're going to do if you don't give them some money?
Okay.
Because that's like people just don't seem to understand what this trend
I think new
what this
jobs
trend is
would be
doing.
created.
That's
You
false.
can't just sit around. Look, 83% of jobs are going to be eliminated by automation, correct? So what does that leave? Like, how many percent is left? Huh?
Not many.
Yeah, like what, 13, 17?
17%.
17%. 17% of jobs are going to exist. This is global?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because India, I don't think is not going to get there. I think Africa is not going to
Just
get
think
there.
of the United
Look
States.
at the
then. We're
okay,
talking
so the
about
United States.
Yes.
The United States, right?
Yes.
The workforce is still developing in underdeveloped countries. It's not developed there. So if we're talking United States alone, then the numbers is not 83%.
It is 83%.
It's not going to be 83%. Dude.
What are you talking about? We're talking
How
about
is
the
it-
United States. We're talking about 83%.
We're talking about universal.
No, we're talking about 83% of people in a country like the United States
Okay.
not having a job.
I think more jobs would be created. I think it's not going to be just left to 17% of people who are going to. I think it's going to be way more. I think new jobs are created that we don't even know of yet.
Tell me what they
Science is
are.
evolving. Well, I don't know the
What
jobs.
are they? What are the jobs?
They're gonna be created once this
What do you think they
automation-
are?
So what if a new automation type of industry came into play, right? Who's gonna construct that?
Do you know the different sectors?
Who is gonna construct?
Do you know
those
the sectors of the
materials?
economy?
Who's gonna construct that?
What are the sectors of the economy?
Sectors of the economy?
Yeah, you got agriculture, you got
Agriculture,
manufacturing, you got service.
Yep, you got service. You got
That's all. That's all. And all of that is going to be done by robots. What then?
So okay. So all of that's gonna be done by robots. Who's gonna construct the things? Who's gonna make? So if I need to get from one place to another, a car is gonna take me there, right? An automated car. Who's gonna build the roads for that? An automated machine? Because I don't think that's gonna happen sooner or later. It's not. Can't. needs to be coordinated. What if a jam happens?
Do you think that
What
those
if-
are? Do you think those are new jobs?
Yes, I do.
No,
think,
they're not.
No, yeah. So
Those
exactly,
are existent
Those are
jobs.
existent jobs that are gonna still be needed. And if let's say something happens to machinery, that 17% is gonna just cover that, fix that coding issue.
You're talking about building. So he gives an example in that podcast of how there's a procedure of bending rebar that used to take 8 people to do. Now a machine does it overnight. So that's 8 people of a day's work that no longer
What
have
was
to
this job?
have that job. Bending rebar in the
Bending
ironwork.
rebar. Yeah, I can understand
industry.
that. That's okay.
So there's construction jobs being
Construction-
automated away
Those type
all the
of
time.
construction jobs. That's a different type of construction.
Then what?
We can't account for Earth's natural disasters. What if a natural disaster were happen? Like we don't know when that's going to
Okay,
happen.
but here's the thing.
Exactly,
You're
so
trying to use logic.
I am.
right
You
now,
are too.
But you're
the
not
one who
using
said-
statistics.
You said look at the logic in what I'm saying, and I
Right.
did, and I'm looking at my own logic, and you're not understanding that because what if
no,
a natural
I'm saying look at the logic in my reading of the statistics.
Okay.
You're not thinking about the statistics. The statistics are that 83% of jobs are going to be gone.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all.
Well, you don't have
I'll
to
see
believe
it when I believe it. Like I'll believe it when
By
I
then
see
it'll
it.
be too late. And did you know that's a human tendency? You want to talk about psychology?
Okay.
Humans don't plan for the future. That's why we weren't prepared for COVID. We are future discounting. We discount the future. We think it's we don't like to think about that until we get there.
I
But the
think
problem is by
now
that time it's too late.
Society nowadays thinks just about
It
the future.
doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
I think about the future. So how can you say that I don't?
You don't think about it very well. You may
Yes.
think you do. That's
Well,
another.
I think about
that's-
my future. I don't think about society's future. I think about my future.
Exactly.
Exactly. So everyone's self.
But you still, even the way humans think about their own future. Now, I'm not judging you. I'm not judging the way you think about your future. You may be one of the rare people who actually plans for your future and executes your plans well. I think you're too young to really make a judgment on that. But how well you planned and executed your plans. But the
My
fact
plans
is,
so far are
the
going
fact
well.
is that people aren't very good at that. We're not very good at planning for the future, saving for the future, doing all these things. We are future discounters.
excellent
This is an observed psychological phenomenon for human
Yes,
beings.
and I think with the modern society now, I think it's more existent that children are being more careful and planning full of.
I don't
the
think
future.
so.
I think so because the older generations weren't as.
I think they were better.
No, I
think they were better, and I think their criticism of millennials, young
I
people,
think they are the generation that allowed COVID to enter.
I think they're
I think-
harder working than the youth of today.
I think the youth of today are smarter.
Maybe thanks to the internet,
Yes, they are.
but they're lazy.
Yes, and you're the one who said that lazy is not. It's a thing of humans. So
Yeah, I was criticizing the concept of laziness in terms of it being a byproduct of the fact that we have to do jobs that we hate.
yes,
People are lazy because they try to do as little as possible because they're already forced to do a bunch of shit for 8 hours a day that they don't want to do.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It all comes down to the point of whether or not you are educated enough to make a decision. And
Yeah, I don't
then
think
again, we're just two people here sitting talking to a crowd who probably won't do anything. We're not talking to a PhD scientist again. So, I don't know, man. It's just me and you talking on this podcast.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get through to you a little bit about the statistics of the thing and how you may think that new jobs are going to appear, but from my reading of things, like the actual data that I've seen and the arguments that I've heard, it's not. There's no new. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like people aren't going to do nothing. They're going to do things, contribute, make the world better and whatnot. But it might not be the exact kind of labor for income that we've seen all of these years.
I'm just saying we can't predict the next 10 years. We didn't predict COVID. We didn't predict any of it. We can't predict the next 5 years, for God's sake. We can predict.
That's called future discounting.
It's not.
It is.
It's because we don't have an exact estimate. You can estimate, but that estimate is not 100% accurate. And you can get all the universities, like, why didn't the universities tell us that COVID was going to happen? Why weren't they prepared? Why wasn't philanthropy work?
Oh, they told you it was going to happen, but they didn't prepare for it.
Exactly.
Because
so then they were ignorant.
No. They weren't ignorant. They all knew. All the biologists knew that a pandemic was coming. But the reason why human society didn't plan for it is because we're evolved future discounters.
I don't believe that.
It's a fact. So you could even know, even if you did actually read the data which has led to these projections, which I don't know if you'll do. I don't know if you care enough, because you're a human, right?
Okay.
And we mainly focused on the present of our own lives.
Yes.
We don't tend to be focused on the 10-year projection of our society. But if you were to look at that data, and even if you did understand it,
yeah.
Would you still act or do something about it? Probably not, because we're not really evolved to do that, to prepare.
It really depends.
And be ready for the future.
What does it talk about? It depends. I think I would.
I told you, this is what the data shows.
Okay.
83% of jobs are going to disappear, and they're not coming back.
I haven't seen that. I just heard it from a guy.
Imagine it's true.
Imagine it's true?
Because I'm telling you it's true. I'm telling you it's true.
Okay, I'll imagine it's true.
Imagine it's true. So how can you not think universal basic income is necessary?
Because that's just one way of looking at it. You have giving welfare support to criminals. Like, what about criminals? There's criminals in today's society. They're hanging out. There's drug dealers. Yeah. What are they going to do?
They already get welfare.
Exactly, but they're going to get $1,000
Actually, I don't know,
extra.
to be honest. Oh, and by the way,
they're going to get $1,000 extra.
No. You know what Andrew Yang said? No, Andrew Yang, and this would be another deterrent to keep people from going down a criminal path and going to jail. If you go to jail, you're out of the $1,000 a month program.
Okay, so
that's a good deterrent.
Well, given $1,000, given $1,000 to people,
a month for life.
Yeah, but giving $1,000 to people is another incentive, because obviously they would have the money and I would say the knowledge and intel to stay away from prison and jail. I think they would cheat the government like they're already doing right now. You know how many shootings? Somebody was killed just a couple days ago. People drown. Ignorance. People, motorcycle crash happened just a couple days ago. Ignorance. Like, this stuff is going to happen. UBI is not going to stop that. UBI is not going to stop idiots. Right? We got to educate people is what I'm saying. And I told you about this before. Like, education is the best thing we can possibly do.
You realize that objection came up in the first 3 minutes of that podcast that I showed you. So, and you're right. Jail's not going to go away. We're still going to need jail. This isn't a magic bullet that's going to fix everything.
Yeah. Exactly. So then, yeah, it's just putting more money in the piece of shits and douchebags in our society. And
I can't believe you still think that, because I'd like to look at the percentage. Like, what is the wealth disparity in Canada? How many rich people are there?
Lots of rich people.
Not really.
Not in Canada. Look at the United States, dude.
The top 1% of Canada's families hold about 25.6% of the wealth. So what I'm saying is, if it's 1% holding 25% of the wealth, it's a very small...
That's a huge number, dude.
Yeah. So
25% of Canada's wealth is a big number, and that's only 1%. 1%. So exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So look, this is 1%.
So the other 99, you're talking about 1% of people who are getting something completely unfair, which is an extra $1,000 in their bank account to add to the 25% of the entire country's wealth that they already own.
Yes, exactly.
So 1% of people are getting something unfair. 99% of people are getting something beneficial and good for society as a whole.
Which is coming from the middle class and the poverty, the lower class.
Not if you tax properly.
That's not fair.
Not if you tax properly.
Taxing properly, no. Half the rich people don't even pay their taxes.
You can make them pay their taxes.
Like we do right now?
Like Andrew Yang says he would.
Andrew Yang says something that is not happening. He's not going to... If he can change the tax system right now in front of my eyes, I will believe him. I'm all in for UBI.
If people were smart enough and aware enough to elect a guy like that...
Exactly. People aren't educated. Right. And I understand, there are certain problems. UBI has cons. But look, I've talked to a senator of Canada... Senator Johan, and she's told me she doesn't agree. She doesn't agree with putting money in the rich people's pockets, and I don't.
That's 1% of people.
Let's ask someone. Let's do a social experiment. Let's ask a middle class member or a poor person living on the streets.
You know what we should ask them?
Okay.
Would you like $1,000 a month?
Okay. And then we'll be like, would you also like to give $1,000 a month to the rich?
Good. Let's ask them my question first, and then let's ask them that question second.
No,
And
why can't we put it together? Because that's the truth.
fine, let's put them both together. But
Okay, we'll come back
my
to
question will
this
just lead. Would you like to get $1,000 a month for the rest of your life?
and also put,
And would you like to put $1,000 into the hands of Canada's rich per month for the rest of their lives?
and we're also going to mention the statistics that
They
also,
won't care because
they
what
will.
You remember what I told you about human beings being concerned about their
I think
own
the middle
immediate
class,
situation?
I think the middle class will worry more. I think they would worry way more because they are the middle class. They are the working hard class.
Yeah, I think
You ask a middle class member, they will disagree with you. You ask a poor person, they will be in
not
the
all
brink.
middle class members. Any liberal-minded middle class member will be for UBI, but conservative.
I'm a liberal minded, but
No,
I'm
you're
not
conservative
I'm not
minded.
conservative. I'm not liberal.
Okay, I'm gonna put a little montage together, and it's gonna be you saying I'm not conservative, and then it's gonna be every conservative statement, like extremely actually like serious,
good.
serious free market capitalist.
I challenge you
conservative.
to do that. I
Okay.
challenge you to do that. Okay.
I will.
And then I will comment on that video saying, "This is why I said that. Here's my evidence of me being a liberal."
You really think that you're a liberal?
Yes.
Okay, so no, you're not. You're
I
not.
am.
No, like you.
I have different viewpoints.
So, do you like Canada's current welfare system?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yep. I think the education system needs to be a little tweaked, but yeah.
Yeah, you do want change for education.
No, I do want change for education.
So why am I saying you're conservative? I'm saying you're conservative because you're very much for capitalism, and people who
Canada's a capital society with democracy.
right, and you can be liberal and be for capitalism, but you
Exactly.
seem really for capitalism,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're. I don't
It's
know.
a good justice.
You seem like you're on the right.
We have a great justice society. Like we have a great justice system.
Yeah.
The institution of justice is by far the best we've had in years. We've gotten rid of crime. Yes, there's crime in the urban cities. Yeah, we are trying to get rid of them. We've introduced certain programs. They are trying to literally reduce gang violence. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for that.
I'm for.
What would
I'm
a
for
communist
Canada.
country?
Canada's a great
A
country.
communist country would
Yeah.
kill those people.
Yeah.
They
So
would kill them.
You
I
don't
think
like
a society because
Yeah.
look, I think people, sometimes go down the wrong path. They do not deserve to get killed for that.
Of course.
Their actions, that's just like the devil. Like that's a devil in today's modern society. That's what communism is. And I'm not for that. I'm
Good.
obviously for capitalism. I think justice has been a way of life for thousands of years. I think it should be like that. No, like I've seen it.
But you
Justice should be ran through a capitalist society.
yeah. So, well, first of all, like one of the signs of you being conservative is that you like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a Republican. That's the conservative side of the political spectrum. And Donald Trump is not a liberal. Donald Trump is a conservative.
No, I don't. I never said I like. I like his policies. I like how he's introduced
His
jobs.
policies are conservative.
No, they're not.
They are.
Ma-
They're certainly not
introducing
liberal.
jobs.
Yeah, that's a conservative solution.
How is that conservative?
It is because
He's creating jobs for the non-wealthy, and he's brought immigration rates so very high. He's opened doors, and I think that's liberal.
well, I don't.
How is
I
that?
think
How is that conservative?
because the idea of people making money in a capitalist way, creation of jobs is something that the right cares about more. So the left would care more about social programs,
Social programs
socialism.
which they have created.
The further left you go, you're into socialism.
Opioid drug reduction programs. So that's what liberal, right? You can say that.
Government funded.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's government funded. They've
It's a social
actually,
program.
I don't know how many billions of, I think it was $1.3 billion they've funded for that.
Yeah.
for opioid reduction. That's
Okay, but
that's,
still, that doesn't
that's
mean you
liberal.
call the Republican leader of the United States a liberal. He's a conservative.
Okay, well, but I'm not supporting all his policies.
Yeah.
I like when you say you like Donald Trump, you can't just say you like his good aspects and his bad aspects. I think I like his good aspects, and then
Yeah. So
they're
Canada,
more
Canada,
judging of him.
Canada's a country with a lot of social safety net, a lot of social programs, right?
Yes, yes.
And so people who are on the right, people who are very conservative, don't like so many social programs. They think that it should be private companies,
I
not
like
government
social
funded
programs. I do, and
companies.
I've told you this. Education is the social program.
Yeah. What do
Exactly.
you think of Canada's healthcare system?
I think Canada's health. Well, it could do better, but I think I like it's actually getting better. You know, the NDP party, Jagmeet Singh, he introduced the free dental care system with families who are earning above a certain number of income, and people who are under that get free dental care service. And I think that's totally true because people who are wealthy should have to pay for theirs.
We have universal healthcare
Yes,
in
we do.
Canada. You think that's a good thing?
I think it's not really universal at all because we pay taxes and it goes through our taxes. So I think it's paid for healthcare in a way. Nothing is free in Canada, dude. Nothing is free. You can't
Taxes,
say
taxes,
something-
and then a social program that allows every single Canadian citizen
Yes.
access to it.
Yes.
That's called universal because
It
it's
is.
accessible.
It's accessible
to
but
everyone for
I'm
free.
just saying it's not for free.
Well, I mean, without paying.
It's not for free.
It's a social program. So that's if you don't like
Look,
that,
Blue Cross,
that's a conservative.
Blue Cross and Red Cross is not free. You do a service in order to get those incentives, in order to get those benefits. It's nothing.
No,
Nothing is
not
free
benefits.
in societies.
Not benefits. I'm talking about the fact that if you go and you get in a car accident,
Yes.
they're going to fix you up and you don't have to pay.
Yeah, well, you do have to pay your taxes, and there are
The fact that you're even pointing that out is very conservative attitude.
that's not conservative attitude.
It
I
is.
am all for healthcare. Canada's healthcare system is by far one of the best. USA, however, they're private. Their entire healthcare system is private.
You think that's good?
I think that's not.
That
good.
is it. Okay. I thought you were about to
No,
say that was good.
No, that's not good.
I was going to be like, "Ha, gotcha. You're a conservative."
No, well, it's not good. I actually mentioned this in podcasts like what 3.
I thought you were
or
saying I
1?
thought you were praising that system.
No,
and saying that
I'm
Canada was
saying
making mistakes.
the reason they transitioned into a private sector is because healthcare in Canada was overloaded by the system it was being ran by in the 1960s because of free healthcare. Free healthcare. This was legit free healthcare. People were coming into hospitals. It was overcrowded, and they needed to introduce a new thing. People who needed surgeries for cancer and other, ligaments that they had, they needed surgeries, but they couldn't get them because
So they would
Canada's
come to
healthcare.
Canada to
They
get
would
them.
no, they would go to the United States and get them because the private sectors they charged money and people had the money. The wealthy class they had the money because they didn't want to go to the public hospitals. They paid the money and then they got their surgeries, which was burdening because it cost them a lot of money, sometimes even over 100.
Yeah, it doesn't make
200,000.
sense to give free healthcare to people who are visiting Canada. To give it to the citizens, to have universal healthcare for citizens makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really good thing.
But like I think Canada's healthcare system is good. It's getting better. But I'm just saying nothing is free in Canada. There's always a cycle that we have to pay. So
Well, if you make less than $13,000 a year, I think it is,
then it is. Yeah.
you don't pay any taxes and
No.
you get your healthcare covered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, it's not 13, is it? Is it more than that?
Might
30?
be a little bit. No, it's way less than that.
Oh,
It's
really?
it's like 16 max or something.
I think I'm looking at some of these
17, I don't know.
older statistics, but yeah.
Yeah. Then you don't get taxed.
Okay.
You pay your taxes, your income tax while you work, and they give it all back to you
Yeah,
again.
childcare, healthcare for children is free, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But benefits come through the
Insurance
incentives
corporations,
through a service.
Blue Cross and whatnot, those are insurance corporations.
Insurance corporations, and you get those incentives by working for a service.
Yeah, you work for a company, and then they insure you. The company pays to insure you. That's your
Exactly.
benefits.
That's your
And then
benefits.
if anything happens, you get
So you
it's paid for.
get a certain percentage taken off your check. for that.
most. Yeah.
Exactly. So nothing's free.
You get a certain percentage taken off your check for what?
For benefits.
The company.
Company
If it's a good
takes it.
company, the company pays for your benefits. They don't take it off your check.
It depends, but some people it's not entirely free though.
Sometimes it's paid for by your company.
Like we have a union at Save on Foods. We also have some other things that are EI, employment insurance.
Mm-hmm.
It's not free. It's taken off your check.
Right, but
exactly. So then that's insurance for when you get hurt. You're gonna be paid out of that own money you took out of your check prior to getting hurt.
So you're saying with Save on Foods, they take money off for your health and dental?
No. They take money off for your EI, which is your employment.
Yeah, well, that's not your health and dental. Insurance. They pay for that insurance.
Yeah,
that's when a company provides benefits. They're paying for your insurance.
They are paying for your insurance, but for employment insurance, it's taken off of our check.
That's a government thing. Yeah,
exactly. Government's paying for our healthcare, so.
Yeah. So, yeah, they take a little bit of money that you pay for your own employment insurance, and then when you get sick, or no, when you get laid off, then then the government pays you just like as if you were still working.
Yep.
But you do have to pay for that insurance.
That's why I'm all for this system.
Yeah,
I think it's good. And
Canada's a good country. Think
what would happen to our healthcare system? It wouldn't be funded if UBI was introduced.
With the healthcare system?
Yes.
What are you saying?
It wouldn't be funded properly.
Why?
Because the government... Well, I talked about affordability, right?
Yeah.
With UBI and how much debt would be created. And, yeah. So, if that's debt is... Because I've seen this. It's already happened to the healthcare system. We were in extreme debt, and they had to change the way that healthcare was being handled. Basically, people with higher priority services or necessities were dealt with before. And, at number one, sorry, I worded that very badly. People who had problems that were priority, such as like losing a leg or getting shot, was priority for them to get healed or fixed. Whereas people who had like a nail, like not a nail, like just a simple cold or a flu were dealt with later on. So that was kind of the introduction of a new healthcare system. Whereas now it's pretty much anyone, but we still see wait times like we did in the 1980s. Like that. Yeah, we still see wait times. Like you go to the emergency here at Surrey Memorial, you'll still have to wait a couple hours, like 2 or 3 hours at most, because there are so many.
But not actually never.
Actually, yes. Because
I've been to the emergency room. It's never taken that long.
It's taken people 2 hours, 2 hour, 1 hour.
Yeah, maybe
to get checked
in rare cases.
There's a shortage of doctors. The crime and the overdosing of people has gone up and spiked up, which is more of a priority to handle for doctors. And yeah, it's just gone up. So I think these things in society have created.
Yeah, well, obviously it would be paid for with taxes.
Yeah.
It'd be paid for with taxes. And that money would go right back into the economy, so people can buy those products from those companies that are being taxed.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I knew you would say that. It would go back into the economy. But if UBI were to be introduced, then how the hell would people get money? Just $1,000 would be your monthly spending? Because that's definitely not our monthly spending. Our monthly spending is like $5,000 a month. Just crazy.
Right. So it's going to be a big problem. Unemployment is going to be a big problem, and you'll see that.
And being provided with a dividend is also, I think, going to be a big problem.
Not
because
at all.
Yes, it is, because society is not going to tolerate giving money to the rich, and yeah.
That's such a ridiculous like way to look at things.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, society is going to become extremely unstable as unemployment rises. That's what happens every time, and then it's going to break down. Things are going to break down. There's going to be suicide, violence, mental health problems.
Suicide and violence already exist now.
Medical problems.
I think it's going to go up.
They are going up.
They are going up, right? So if we just pay people more money, it's just putting more money in their pockets and providing them with a bigger incentive to do those shit things.
That's crazy. No, it's gonna improve their mental health. It's going
not.
to improve their physical health.
Giving money to an addict is not going to improve their mental health. It's not.
Okay, well,
because they're not educated. You can't just give money to someone. You can't give money to a drug addict and just tell them to get better. You have to teach them to get better. That's why we teach children to not get into drug violence. And
there's no
other
point
things.
in trying to teach
No,
anyone anything if
no,
they're
there
in
is.
destitute
Why are
poverty.
there these volunteer
That's why it doesn't work.
organizations like Kids Play? They offer kids, resources. They offer kids these tournaments so they can, be invested in the community in a positive way. Whereas,
See, this is where you're very conservative.
I'm not.
You are.
That's not
You're not
conservative.
really
That's
caring
a
about these people.
program.
No, you're
That's
not
a
thinking
program.
about these people's well-being.
Yes,
you are
I
not.
am.
No,
yes,
you're not.
I am. I'm saying that we
You
gotta
are not.
create programs to teach them.
If you don't
we
think-
can't pay people and put money in their pockets and just expect them to get better like that. It's not gonna work. The only way you can care for someone is by teaching someone. You can't just give them money monthly and expect them to get better. That's actually conservative. Conservative is what I'm talking about. Liberal is what I'm talking about, of how you create programs to educate these addicts and essentially get them better,
This
and
is
then
no.
introduce them with money.
This is liberal. This is a safety net for these people who are without it are going to have extreme problems. They're gonna die, or they're gonna kill someone, or they're gonna join this communist this
What were you
Marxist.
gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say the communist revolution.
I'm not. I don't know why you think I'm conservative, because you're the one who just said introducing programs and volunteer organizations for kids who are being taken out of the perpetual cycle of violence and gang.
Here's the thing, though.
Is
What are you going to educate them by saying? Their opportunities are evaporating.
No, they're
every
not.
day. Yes, they are.
I don't think so.
You're ignorant. Like, you are missing.
You can go to Google Jobs
you're
right now,
missing
and
the
you'll see
points.
1,000 jobs literally right there.
Well, you have to look at statistical trends. Otherwise, you're not.
I'm looking at statistics right now in front of my eyes. Like, you can search it up here. I'll show you right now.
The
Google
jobs are going away, and they are not coming back.
What? Like what? Name
All
one
of
job.
them.
Other than
your job.
okay, my job.
Yeah.
I'm still a cashier.
Not for long.
How long?
10 years max.
10 years max.
Yeah.
10 years I'll be a something else.
Yeah.
not
Well,
a
where
cashier.
will everybody else be?
Okay.
Everybody else will be unemployed.
Okay, look. Technology is so shit right now. Like,
You have no idea.
okay, all right. Well, what is it? What is technology?
This is
What
like
is technology going to do? It's not going to make us a vaccine.
it's going to take away all of the jobs.
You're
I'm
living
telling
a
you this right
false
now.
Illusion.
No, I'm not. You're not looking at the statistics. I'll have to provide them to you.
You would have to.
Yeah.
And I would look at them and I will tell you that this is false. Because you're the one who told me that governments are inflating or deflating numbers.
Right. They're making it look like there's less unemployment than there is.
Yeah.
Right. They are. But they're
Less
not
employment than there is. Oh.
Yeah, but they're not inflating the statistics of the rate that technology is eliminating jobs. You have to look at this stuff, because if you don't, then you are just being ignorant, like you
Okay.
like to say.
What if I win the lottery?
Do you know what your chances of winning the lottery are?
I
Googled it.
14 million?
No, it's way worse than that. And by the way,
What is it? What is
you're
it?
so much more likely. I forget. I calculated it, but
Because
you're
the
like
population in Canada is only 37 million. So
chances of getting hit by lightning. 1 in 700,000.
okay. Not
Chances of winning the
that
BC.
that depends.
No, hold on.
That depends on the geographical location and the weather.
As a human being, no, that's your chances. Your chances
Of me being hit
of struck by lightning in your life. Okay, now here we go.
That's a false thing. It's probably one in set 4 billion.
1 in 700,000.
I don't believe that a single bit. There's no lightning in British Columbia.
What are the chances of being
Well,
hit by lightning?
Not often, I guess.
The odds of getting struck by lightning, are less than 1 in a million. I got a different
I
page.
told you.
Different page this time. Environment
Exactly. So
Canada
that's not like
says lightning kills 6 to 12 people every year in this country and seriously injures another 60 or 70
that's not that much.
people.
Out of 37 million, that's nothing. That's like nothing. So I'm not worried. There's no lightning. Just
Right.
check the weather forecast every day, dude.
Here's my point. Okay,
your point?
you have a 1 in a million chance of getting struck by lightning in Canada.
Okay. That's depending on the geographic location.
What are the odds of winning the 649 jackpot?
Probably 1 in 14.
1 in 14 million.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I called it.
You did actually. It's 1 in 13.98.
Yeah, it's 1 in 14 million. I searched those statistics up when I wanted to win the
You
lottery.
did. So you're 14 times more likely to get hit by lightning.
Yeah. Well, that's not possible.
14
Depends on
times
the
more likely.
geographical location.
So it's not possible
It's depending on the geographical location.
Why are you talking over me every single time I talk? Man?
I just want to let you know. It's just part of the geographical location.
Okay, you will not win the lottery.
You want to bet? Mind over
You
matter.
think
Mind over matter. You're the one who told me.
Okay, well, that's pure ignorance.
Whatever you say, bro.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll win it.
Okay.
You'll see me on the news.
Don't worry, you'll get hit by lightning.
My ass. I won't. I won't.
You will.
Because you got to look at the geographical location. You're the one who's not looking at statistics now. How often do people get struck by lightning in British Columbia?
Maybe you'll travel.
It's probably travel.
Maybe you'll go somewhere.
You're looking at the statistics. Are those global statistics? Canada, right? So you're traveling where? I'll look at the weather.
I lived in Thunder Bay for a while. Maybe you'll find yourself there one day.
Thunder Bay, hey? Well, I have something called technology, apparently, that is going to take over the world. But it has something called a weather app, and you just check that. And apparently, statistics show that many people are likely to go outside on a sunny day rather than a day that has lightning.
If we allow people...
I'm not going to get struck by lightning.
If we allow people to... like 83% of people to lose their jobs and don't give them any redistribution of wealth, then yes, technology is going to take over and destroy us. Or we could let technology benefit the people of Canada.
Not
and
happening.
the way technology...
It can benefit us. Sorry, go on.
The way technology can benefit all of us is if we get a dividend, a freedom dividend for being Canadian citizens. That's the only way that technology benefits everyone, instead of just displaces them all from their jobs.
What would happen to immigration and crime? Because if we look at this over the course of history, essentially many immigrants came to Canada for the better life. And if we start listening, if people get the news that Canadians are getting $1,000 every month for the rest of their life, and whereas that compares to a different currency like in India, whereas $1,000 in Canada would be a lot of money. It would be like 100,000. I don't know. It's not a lot of money, right? 50,000 probably. I don't know. 50,000 rupees. Yes, 50,000 rupees, which is equivalent to like a car. You can buy a car. You can buy a motorcycle with it. You can buy like 2 motorcycles in a car. You could buy like a house in like 5 days. So what's to say that immigration rates wouldn't spike up? What's to say that Canada's racism numbers don't spike up? What's to say that all this shit goes on and, you know?
Yeah, they did talk about immigration in the podcast. I was, I believe, watching the hockey game at the same time I was listening to it. But so I didn't quite hear it. He's for immigration. He's an immigrant, or his parents are immigrants, and he says that, you know, his dad developed 66 patents for Hewlett Packard or some company. IBM.
Thomas Malthus. He told you about. He talked about population growth. If more people are immigrating to Canada, more population growth, more thousands of dollars.
Okay, let's talk about Thomas Malthus. Do you know what his point was?
Population, yes.
What's his point?
Well, he talked about a number of things. He talked about how population was growing, and
exponentially.
Exponentially, yes.
Because every 2 kids that are born, a family of 2 has 2 kids.
Yes.
Those 2 kids have 2 kids each. Then there's 4 people.
Yeah.
Those 4 people have 2 kids each, and then he's talking about population growth is exponential, but the growth of the ability to, like agriculture, the growth of the ability to provide food for people is incremental, is linear. It's not exponential.
It's not as
so it doesn't grow as fast. So what that means is that
people are going to die.
More people are they're not going to be there's
There's
never going to
no
be enough to provide for
provide for
everyone.
them, and then survivability is gonna
Right, and that's
those numbers are gonna drop. As exactly. So
yeah.
I
Darwin
think
noticed that too about all species of life. Many more animals die than survive to pass on their genes. Many
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he said
It's,
the world
survival
would
of the
quickly
fittest.
the entire continent of North America would quickly be shoulder to shoulder with horses or something like that, you know, because they
It's
would
hilarious.
they would
Can you
populate out of
imagine that?
control. It would quickly happen, but what happens is nature weeds a lot of it out
Yeah.
through natural selection
So
forces.
that's why he was wrong, Thomas Malthus.
Why?
Robert Thomas Malthus. He was wrong.
Why?
His theory was kind of proven incorrect.
No, that
Yes.
was in line with what Malthus said.
No, it wasn't, because Malthus said that, you know, all this stuff. He was wrong. He didn't account for the future. He was ignorant about it. And yeah, he didn't
What?
he didn't account for, you know, people and the exponential growth of agriculture. He didn't account for that.
There's no exponential growth of agriculture to this day.
Well, yes, there is.
No, there isn't.
Yeah, well, our food.
It's not every
supplies-
time you make a farm, 2 farms spring up and then 4 farms spring up. That's not how
Yeah,
agriculture grows.
But still, it does grow. You
You're
know,
talking about technology, food production, technology.
food production, but not only that. Like, I'm saying that what are we lacking? We're not lacking food supply. Not at all, dude. Look at our grocery stores; they're full of shit.
Right. It does.
We're
seem
not
that,
lacking anything.
It does seem that
And
everyone in
it's-
Canada eats.
Exactly.
Yeah, even though the population grows.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what's gonna happen? There's like 52,000 acres of, like, I don't even know how many acres it was. It was like 57,000 acres. Property was just sold for like,
Yeah.
I don't know how many dollars, how many billions or trillions even, maybe, I don't know. Actually, it was a billion, something billion. And it was sold. It was the biggest property in Canada that was ever sold, and it's stretching a lot of acres. It's crazy. Imagine owning that much of Canada, hey? My dad was like, "Yo, you want to buy it?" I was like, "What? Where are we gonna get that money?" He's like, "Don't worry, we'll get a big loan." But yeah, yeah, it's just crazy. It's growing. It's the food industry is definitely growing.
What about globally? What about globally? You have a lot of starving people. Like
Yes, we do. Yes.
a couple billion. or
So then
something like
that kind of equals it out, doesn't it?
Well, that makes Malthus still correct. There's still less food production capability than there is to take care of to feed all the humans.
Well, then I guess he's correct to some sort of balance. I guess, like, I would say the underdeveloped are not so enriched with food, and then the developed are, because that's where all the deals strike, like NAFTA and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you've got wealth concentrated in a place called Canada.
Yeah, well, the
and then
only reason why
you've got a
we've
lot of people
created
on the world
wealth
without food.
on the spectrum, on the political spectrum, Canada introduced their side of what they can offer, right? NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, was kind of introduced so that tariffs wouldn't exist. Basically, them being taxed on goods that are being traded around, you know, the tri countries, Mexico, America, and Canada. And essentially, I think that was a good way of boosting Canada's economy, and I think that's why we are the way we are today.
How long did NAFTA last?
Still lasting.
Is it?
Well, yeah.
Is it really? I'm gonna Google that.
I don't think it's with Mexico anymore. I don't know.
NAFTA.
By the way, COVID has reduced a number of this.
Came into force January 1st, 1994.
Yep.
Superseded 1988. And then what happened?
I think Mexico got kicked out. I don't know. I'm not too updated.
Yeah. Okay.
Mexico
so
got kicked out.
that's all history.
Opted out.
Adjudication, impact, disputes and controversies. Policy of the Trump administration. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it's still kind of active.
No, it is. I've seen Trudeau go to those meetings.
Impact of withdrawing from NAFTA.
That's just a question.
Trump's proposal. Oh, as Trump proposed. Yeah, you're right. So, NAFTA.
Yeah, so because of COVID, I think trade has kind of significantly reduced, and I think allegations Trump is creating is quite horrendous, because like he's saying you know, we were gonna cancel the masks shipments going out. You know, you've heard of that. You know, the M95 I think was being canceled, and they were they were trying to, close shipments, and then Trudeau said, "Well, we have like 6,000 nurses going to Detroit every like freaking month. We're gonna shut that down. Fuck your fucking healthcare system, right?" And essentially, he kind of chilled out a little bit.
Yeah. Well. So Malthus, and how do we get onto Malthus?
So population growth. I think it's a balance between. I think it's a versus between the underdeveloped and the developed, because the developed have the food, they're the rich, whereas the underdeveloped don't. And I think those underdeveloped nations kind of account for what Malthus was living through during his time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, Malthus had a situation that he was looking at.
Exactly.
And we're looking at a different situation. But yeah, I wonder why sometimes, like Africa or somewhere where there's a lot of poverty, like a lot of starving people.
Yeah.
What's the issue there? Like
education, it's lacking education.
That's ridiculous. No, it's probably that there's not enough farms. So it's probably a very similar problem to what, and there's corruption and this and that, but probably there's not enough food to go around that country.
Or they could just educate them
on how to have better farms,
on how to make farms and how to grow plants.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe they don't have the fertile soil.
They can't just grow. Yeah, yeah, that too. Geographical location. I was going to say that.
Well, that's probably the biggest problem, is that there's a lot of desert and a lot of this.
Let's search it up. I think let's see, African soil
why is there so much hunger and poverty in Africa?
That's a good way to word it.
Food insecurity and hunger are caused by many factors. General, the principal causes of hunger include poverty, conflict, climate and weather, lack of investment in agriculture, and unstable markets. So it's a multitude of factors. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of conflict around there too, so keeps the poverty going.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Winning in African Agriculture by McKinsey. Oh, let's read this.
Sure.
So, okay, wait, sorry. Private sector companies can find practical solutions to enter and grow in Africa's agricultural market. Agriculture in Africa has a massive social and economic footprint. More than 60% of the population of sub-Saharan Africa is smallholder farmers. And about 23% of sub-Saharan Africa's GDP comes from agriculture. Interesting. So that's 23%. Yet Africa's full agricultural potential remains untapped. In a recent analysis, we determined that Africa could produce 2 or 3 times more cereal and grains, which would add to 20% more cereals and grains to the current worldwide 2.6 billion tons of output.
That would be good.
Yeah, exactly. So they have the ability to do it. They're just not educated on how.
Sure.
So
that's one factor.
Yeah, but that's a big factor. That's so much money. Like, imagine putting that back into the economy. That's freaking amazing.
Yeah. You know what? Like, if you really want to be someone who makes positive change in these different areas, you want to be well versed in the statistics of it all.
Yes.
Because otherwise, overconfidence bias. That's another cognitive bias that humans have.
Yes.
The tendency, so overconfidence, we believe that we understand a situation better, we can make better decisions on things based on just our innate ability, rather than statistical reasoning, right? Rather than based on data, right?
Yeah.
But it would be much better if we actually were able to. You want another Coke?
No, I'm good.
I do. Okay, I'll get it in a second. But it'd be much better if we were to actually go over all of the data, all of the relevant data, because otherwise we're kind of talking out of our ass, right? Like, we're kind of full of shit.
Talking out of our ass.
Yeah, we're kind of full of shit. You're a little bit full of shit. I'm a little bit full of shit. We're trying to understand based on what we've heard and what we know. But I can clearly see. I think
everyone is full of shit in today's society. There's no one that isn't full of shit. Like, you know,
That's not true.
that is
I
true.
only enjoy listening to the people that aren't full of shit. You and me aren't full of shit because we're trying to be sincere, and we're
We're
trying to
trying to be sincere, and we're honestly
honest
trying to
investigate this stuff
investigate, yeah,
and understand.
society and
Yeah.
understand society. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I think everyone's still full of shit to some extent. Like,
Well,
I think
what I'm saying, like that overconfidence bias, and then
like if someone had the like ability and wasn't full of shit, they would come up and teach society. Like,
people do that. Like Jordan Peterson is an example.
yes, he is.
Andrew Yang is an example.
Yes.
Joe Rogan is an example.
No,
and these
Andrew
people are
Yang,
shining in our society
not,
today.
He's not shining in our society. Andrew Yang.
Yes, he is.
I've never heard of him until you mentioned him to me.
Sure. What I'm saying is I know by sitting down and listening to people for the
Like-
full 2 hours
Okay.
that they're on the Joe Rogan podcast, I can tell
Why wasn't
whether or
Jordan
not they're
Peterson on the news?
genuinely. Jordan Peterson's been on there a few times.
I've never
3.
seen. I've never heard of Jordan Peterson, Andrew Yang, Joe Rogan. I've heard of, but I haven't heard him. I've never investigated these people. Like,
Yeah, but their popularity is so large that Jordan Peterson was making, what was it? What was it? How much was Jordan Peterson making on Patreon at his peak? Jordan Peterson was making, okay, hold on, attracted millions of including nearly $1 million a year. $1 million a year of donations from his followers. Patreon is
he's accepting donations.
Patreon is a website where it's not just donations, it's also you pay for access to some videos that you can't otherwise get.
What?
But he made over $1 million a year. That's how popular this guy was, just for talking. And his
forgot what
videos
that's called.
his videos have astronomical amounts of views. His content has been viewed so much.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he's massively popular.
Yeah, I never heard of him.
His
that
reach
much.
is huge, but now you've heard of him.
Now I have. Yes.
And these are
Definitely
people who
investigate in that.
I think it's very, very powerful when people are genuinely speaking truth.
Yeah.
Speaking truth, you know? There's no deception. Yeah.
Cool, man.
And seeking genuine
Yeah.
knowledge.
It's just there's a lot of shit like to talk about when it comes to just basically these tiny but full of shit topics. Like, you know, it's just crazy.
Which one? Are you talking about UBI?
Any topic, honestly. It's just a lot.
It's not overwhelming. The fact that just the simple thing is that you have to actually do the research.
Yeah.
And at some point we're gonna have to actually dig into one of these topics. Like that's what I want to do with this show. Like I want to become a person who has powerful knowledge, who has beneficial knowledge for people in the world. So that would be a great one to actually go in and actually, you know, because I'm just spouting the number 83% over and over again, right? Because I heard it from Andrew Yang a second ago.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, this guy's just
No. I've read a book full of statistics. It's this thick. Okay, it's called The End of Work by Jeremy Rifkin, and all it is, he's an economist, and all it is statistics, the whole thing. So Andrew Yang has 2 hours to get across his point, but I've read a book that's chock full of statistics by an economist, right? And so it was very persuasive to me. That's why I'm sitting here today, completely
I've read
convinced.
a book by George Orwell, and I like his viewpoint.
He's great. George Orwell's a genius.
He's a genius, right?
Brilliant.
I love his book.
You know what? His was a response to communism because he was
yes.
first a communist. He was that. And then he said, "Oh wait, no, this isn't good. These people actually they hate the rich and they're
exactly." I like how we're agreeing on this because I loved his
Orwell's
book.
brilliant. Which one?
Well, I've read Animal Farm.
I have Animal Farm, but I haven't read it yet.
Oh my God, Kellan, what are you doing? You got to read our Animal Farm.
I know. I don't. When am I going to find the time?
Okay, read the book.
Yeah.
You'll see it. You know, many of the characters are characters in real life, and I have the characters in real life who actually correlate to.
Are they animals?
They
on
are
the farm?
animals.
Like pig, chicken, cow.
Yep. And you'll see where Joseph Stalin comes in play in an animal form. It's really he's a brilliant the amount of.
What else did he write? Peterson is big on him. He says The Road to Wigan Pier is also an important book.
Oh my God.
There's a few Orwell books that are big.
George Orwell is a deep thinker.
He
talks about communism.
What else did he write?
I can't recall it right now, but I think
Not 1984, right? Did he?
he did write in
Okay,
1984.
that's another big.
Yeah, he did. It's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he writes great books. Yeah, I read one of those books. Pretty good book.
Yeah.
I made a lot of connections actually. Lots and lots of connections. I have an essay on that actually.
Cool. Yeah. That's all into that communist
Society and how
and how that what happens to a society. Like there's a book that I read more than half of, 'cause it's very long, but it's
just kind of quit halfway.
Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Again, Jordan Peterson talks about this book, recommends it. He says it's a very important historical book, and it was part of what brought down the Soviet Empire, because he was able to actually get this book out and expose. Because he was Alexander Solzhenitsyn was a guy who was in the gulags, in the work camps, right? And he was talking about just the absolute horror of this system, and how how tens and tens of millions of people were dying, and they were working them to death. And that's how the economy was functioning. It was by forced labor. Everything was forced. The continuance of the system was enforced by fear and the threat of being taken away in the night by the secret police. And
it was definitely something. It was.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. He talked about George Orwell he's a satirist. He doesn't. Yeah, he's a satirist. How do you say it in a fast? Satirist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a satirist, and he kind of jokes around with. He kind of jokes in a joking manner.
Yeah.
He makes fun of humans.
Yeah.
And I think I like that about him, because he doesn't hate them. He just jokes with them. You know what I'm saying? It's a different outlook on people.
Yeah.
And how we are. It's not egotistical at all. It's just beautiful, I guess, in a way. Yeah, I like it.
Honestly, like, the classics of literature are important, right? And people, if they can find the time, should read them, because they have,
especially George Orwell. He has a lot of deep insight.
It'll
give you the perspectives that you need.
Yeah, especially on what's going on in the world today.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, Kellan.
Yeah, that was a good conversation.
It was a good conversation. It's a deep, deep conversation.
It was, yeah. I really think that we should do our research.
Update on the University of Perceptual Studies, guys.
Mm-hmm.
We did get a email back from them.
Response from Professor Jim Tucker, who is the head of the Division of Perceptual Studies.
Yeah. So we got a response from them, and I believe it was what was the case we were talking about?
We were talking about the Golan Heights case of the kid who solved his own murder.
Yes. And Professor Jim Tucker says there was an unclear conclusion, I believe, and there wasn't a proper, I guess, investigation on it.
Yeah, it was unclear whether it was authentic or not.
Yeah. So he's quite busy these days, and we understand that, because he may have a lot of clients. He's part of the psychiatric.
He's a psychiatrist and professor of psychiatry and neurobiology. I'm sure he's a very busy man. But there are other people from the division who we would like to talk to.
Yes, definitely. Did you get that email through?
The response?
Yes.
I did, and he hasn't responded yet, which is why, I understand he's very busy. So there's a lot of, I went through the faculty, and there's a lot. I'm going to actually send an email to each and every one of them. All I want, at the very least, is
a proper response telling us.
Some time to discuss. I actually want to speak to someone there. I don't see any reason why I shouldn't be able to get a little bit of time to talk about the evidence for reincarnation.
Of course.
I want a little more information.
I feel like if they are not willing to talk, it just tells something about them.
It would.
Yeah.
It would tell you something. So I really want to see what they know about that case, right? Was that guy a fraud? Because they should know, right?
Yeah.
That is a case that supposedly, I mean, if it were true, that proves reincarnation happens. So they should know about that one. That's their job. They get millions of dollars of funding. I'm sure that they would have investigated that one.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, it's been a great podcast, eh?
It has.
Talked about a lot of things, and I believe that we did address address many of things, but
Yeah, I liked our UBI discussion.
I did. It was
Heated debate.
It was a very heated. I like heated debates.
Me too.
I
Me
do.
too.
It's very
Because
because you know it's a you're in stress and you get your views on what it is.
yeah, it clarifies for you what you think of things, and also it puts you up against the opposing view. So
Yeah.
it's kind
So
of
it
like a
kinda
little
gives you-
sparring match.
Exactly. It gives you both sides.
Yeah, it gives you information that you wouldn't otherwise have.
Yep.
And I think like I would really like to. Why don't we choose that topic to investigate?
Let's do it.
Okay.
We should. And you know what? If one of us agrees on whatever it is, I'm down for it. If you agree for whether or not it's not a good thing, I don't know if.
But it's
you're,
what it
open.
is we
I don't
need
know
to.
if you're open to it, but I think maybe coming up with a new solution, we could call it like UBKE, Universally Basic Kellan Ekamprit Income.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make something up of our own.
Well, exactly, and like I think we should also go back after these debates that we have, and we should maybe
write down these points and.
yeah, like there's one concept called steelmanning, where that's where the opposite of a straw man. A straw man is like, oh, he thinks this guy over here, Ekam, he thinks that helping people is bad, and that the people on the lower end of society, if they're drug addicts and everything, that they should just die. That's Ekam's opinion. That's called straw manning. That's you put a false statement into someone else's mouth.
Yeah.
And then you say, and that's obviously bad because he doesn't care about people, but you're attacking a straw man. That's what the meaning of that is, right?
I think that's really great because it would provide us with a truthful
steel manning, what that does is ensure that I'm hearing your point of view correctly. So what I would do if I was steel manning you is I would tell you what your objections to UBI are.
Yeah.
So how about I try it right now?
Yeah. All
Live.
Right. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so you object to the idea of UBI for one reason, because you think that people will become lazy. Mm-hmm. You think that people will not have the sense of purpose and the sense of urgency. Like you said that people need uncertainty in order to be motivated. What was that?
Sorry, I don't know.
Oh.
What's that? Oh, it's your.
Oh, I
laptop.
forgot to turn the sound off my computer.
It's all good.
That's all right.
Here, I'll just get rid of it here.
Sure. So you think that people need a sense of uncertainty about the future in order to be motivated to be productive?
Yes.
To work. And also, you think that what was it? Okay, so $1,000 a month. You think people are going to object to it being given to the rich. People are going to have a problem with the fact that money is going to the middle class and rich. Is this you can agree with it or not? Like you can tell me how I'm doing with this, right? Like you think people will object to the idea of $1,000 a month being given to the rich class and upper middle class, etc. You think that, but you think most people will. Okay. You also think that $1,000 won't help people very much because
I think it would help people who are educated, but I don't think it would help people who are the addicts and the criminals in our society. And I think with the price inflation and how things are ran in today's society, I think it would mean as much.
Okay, and you also think that it's too expensive.
I think yes, affordability.
That is a good point. See, the other thing I want to do is I want to concede points that you might absolutely be right about.
Exactly.
When I'm in debate mode, I'm not thinking of like what I should agree with you about or what I should admit that you might be right about. But you might be right. Maybe it's cost
costly. Yeah.
Well,
affordability.
Cost prohibitive.
Yeah, cost prohibitive. And if the U.S. government can afford it, then yeah. But if they can't, just like in the 1960s, how the Canadian healthcare system couldn't afford it,
yeah,
and how everyone's already in debt, it's a big problem.
Yeah. So so it might be cost prohibitive. Do you want to steelman my points?
Steelman your point. So you say that 83% of the automation industry is it's going to be mainstream jobs are going to be taken away. It's going to fringe them essentially, and people aren't gonna have jobs. They're gonna need a dividend to help them survive and pay their bills. Correct?
Yeah, because because their jobs are going to get taken away, and then initially, at least, they won't have anywhere to go, so they'll need income.
So if they don't have anywhere to go, then what's like? I don't understand. Like, okay, so steel manning. What do you want?
Yeah, you're just all you're doing is telling me what I'm saying.
Okay, so telling you what you're saying. Okay,
yeah.
So you're saying that essentially we want the jobs are going to be they're going to be gone, right? Essentially, they're going to be
many jobs. 83%
of jobs are going to be gone, and essentially what we have to do we can't do anything essentially because they're going to be taken from us. We're going to be provided with a dividend of the money that is going to be coming from the economy, and that money is going to be the technology companies itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
and essentially, like I argue that I can argue that point.
But let's just continue with the steel manning first.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then you say that I brought a number of points.
So
yeah.
That covers it?
I think most of it, yeah. And then you think that the poor people, it doesn't matter if the rich people get 1,000 because they're just so rich, that the poor people are still going to get 1,000 no matter what, and that taxes are going to be focused on companies like the technology companies and not just the middle class members.
Yeah.
Okay.
Redistributing that wealth that was created when those jobs were taken,
yes,
should benefit the people.
I like steel manning points
Whose jobs were taken. Yeah, right. It's good, right? So is there anything else that you can think of that I've said that's important?
Well, I guess it just covers those things. We've been arguing for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, so we pretty much covered it.
Yeah,
that's really interesting too, isn't
it? Right.
So
we've been arguing like.
Yeah. Okay. So
it's very interesting.
That is right. We covered all our points in what 3 minutes, 5 minutes.
I know, right?
So now let's have a little project. Do you want to have a little research project where we actually try and get data to support our positions? Yeah. Also, can you concede that I might be right about any of the things I've said?
I think you can be right of the distribution of taxes. I think you can be right about that. I also think you can be right about well, it's kind of hard for me to say because I don't have the full statistics. I'm just
right.
Yeah, it's logical.
Yeah.
And I think that if we kind of search it up, I think you were wrong about that taxes thing. I think that the middle class member, I think people aren't going to appreciate it. I know that because the middle class members are very angry and they're in debt, and especially in urban.
So they would benefit from an extra $1,000. They
would, but they wouldn't benefit. They wouldn't like the idea of rich people getting that money. And battery's low on the laptop, brother.
That's all right. We're pretty much done now.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'll just touch based on the three things. Steelman your points.
Yeah.
So the number one point was it reduces poverty and kind of improves health, and you said that there would be less criminals. I disagree with that.
Less criminals. I said a few other things.
Yeah,
too.
You said reducing poverty, income inequality. It would get rid of it would create equality. You said it would lead to positive job growth. Did you say that?
No.
Okay, so it wouldn't lead to positive.
No,
growth.
there were a couple other things that I mentioned other than crime and poverty. I also said that health would actually improve and mental health would improve. Okay. So there'd be less medical costs that the government would need to pay, and there'd be less mental health costs.
Okay.
That the government would need to pay.
Sounds good, bro.
Okay, so do you want to
we can do research on these final steel manning points, and we'll get back to them in episode 7.
Let's talk about the numbers. Let's go look at the statistics, because we'll both try and see what
We'll
we
look
can
at the
pull up.
healthcare budgets and
Yeah, you can talk about the budget and whatnot, and I'll talk about the trends of technology and job loss,
exactly.
and
All right.
we'll try and put all that together into. Well, one of us is right, man. One of us is right about what needs to be done and what would actually benefit people the most, because that's what we want, right?
Yeah,
We want to
no,
benefit
definitely.
people the most.
No, definitely. I think one of us on this table here is right in the future. We'll look back
Yeah.
at this and we'll be like, "Holy shit!"
But you know what
whoever
would
was
be-
right. Like, okay, if I'm right in the future,
Yeah.
you look back to this and you comment on this video.
I will. I'll admit it as soon as I realize that you were right? But I think what would be so cool, basically, we're going to do some research. We're going to attack this thing from all angles.
Definitely, we are,
Yeah.
and I agree with that. I think educating ourselves, beyond what we have is more important.
Yeah,
And
so basically it will be a continued debate. I'm not expecting you to go home and have an aha moment and go, oh my God, UBI would be great for the world.
Yay.
But but what we should be better prepared for the debate. So what we'll do is we'll take notes, right?
Yeah.
I want us to have a lot of data points to go over and compare them. I'll try and I want you to also look at the trends of technology and job loss. I will also look at the budget and the cost of doing
Interesting. Yeah, no,
the
definitely.
cost of doing UBI. So let's look at all that, and then we'll try and weigh the evidence and see if we can come to a reasoned conclusion. You know what would be awesome? If we could get one of us to change our mind.
I think that would be the best thing.
That would
'Cause
be amazing.
I know religion won't be able to do that, but I think this kid,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
One person, yeah.
Because you have 100% certainty about your religion, which is not critical thinking. So.
Well, I think it is. 'Cause it's factual stuff, bro.
Are you sure it's not just something that you were indoctrinated to believe from birth?
Sikhism is is one of the religions that doesn't force you to be converted into, believing in that system. But
I'm sure they all say that.
no, well, actually, it's true though, because we're not forcing anyone.
Baptized at
You
birth
can-
and all that.
I was not baptized at birth, actually.
No.
I was not. I was baptized when I was around 10 or 11, 12
But-
years
but-
old. And I made I made my own decision. And the reason I made that
Yeah.
decision was because I had so much faith and
Right.
it was just
Buddhism says the same thing. Christianity might be different. Christianity's like,
Christian-
no, you're a Christian. Otherwise, you're going to burn in hell, and you should try and convert as many
and
people as
we
you
have
can.
seen that. Like they come to your doors. Have you seen that? They come to your doors and they try
There's a lot of
converting you.
missionary Christianity.
Yeah, there are missionaries, and
Yeah.
I don't appreciate that because why are you trying to you can educate? Yeah, education is good, but don't invade personal privacy. Like
But otherwise, you're going to go to hell. They have to
you can
save you, man.
well, yeah, but like you can't convert people. Like you won't just go to hell if you don't believe in God. It's living the lifestyle, like I mentioned. You believed in that lifestyle, correct? Remember?
Not according to Christianity.
Well, did you believe? Okay, well, we're gonna get in another debate, but we gotta end this off. But I'm just saying, you believe in the Sikh lifestyle, right? The 3 golden rules.
Yeah, actually, that's all good stuff.
Yeah.
That's all. Even meditating on the one.
Yeah.
You know what? And I honestly think these debates are helpful
I think they
to
are.
an atheist like me.
Yeah,
Because here's the
yeah.
thing, okay?
You know what my thinking of you is here as an atheist? I think you've been fed information by someone who is so remote, like someone who is so damaged, I think. Someone who's so damaged, and then all they have is science, because essentially that's all that there's left. There's material and there's the physicality. That's all that is left. I think you're gonna soon realize that there's more to that and more beyond it. And you may not agree to me now, but when we look back at this, probably from a year after, yeah, I think it'll be pretty good.
So, anyways,
Yeah.
here's
so
what I was
anyways.
about to say. So Jordan Peterson talks about the symbolism in The Lion King and how consciousness is like the sun, right? And the sun. So there's this fruit that the wise old monkey, he breaks, right? And he breaks it with the sun behind it. So the fruit symbolizes the sun, symbolizes the light, symbolizes consciousness. And then he paints Simba's forehead with that to symbolize that he's going to be the king that's going to rule with the light of consciousness, right?
Yeah.
And so the idea also is that you can fall into darkness. That's what Scar is, right? Scar is a creature of the night. He skulks around during the day and is at his most powerful in darkness, right?
Yep.
And so, but the lions stand proud when the ray of light, the clouds part, and the ray of light hits Simba. They stand proud in the light. And so, I was thinking when I was at Superstore the other day, I was buying a few items. I needed some breakfast baby food for my son and some cheddar cheese because we were making nachos.
You mentioned those nachos.
I did. I told you all about it. And so I was using the self-checkout at Superstore. And then I said to myself, because something went wrong, I don't know what it was, but, when you're tired and you're just doing something and then something goes wrong and you're like, what the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me? What the fuck? Right? And then I'm doing that. And then I just the light went on and I was like, well, wait a minute, should I be acting like this? Should I be thinking like that? Is that good for me? Is that a good energy to
questioning?
Yeah. Is that a good, is that a good way to respond to this situation, right? And then so I also mentioned to you that the idea of God, as Jordan Peterson conceives it, is an orienting principle that is the highest good.
Yes.
Right? You want to orient yourself towards your own highest good. So is that my highest good? Because you want to be moving towards that good, right? And if the good is a better state of mind than the state of mind that gets frustrated at a self-checkout thing when it doesn't do what you want, right? And then since then, it's so that's what it is. It's the light of consciousness. That sort of mind frame that gets really angry like that over a little thing is in darkness, right? But when you shine the light on it, you don't respond that way.
Yeah.
You just say, oh, that didn't work, and then you change what you were doing. So that's keeping the light on and keeping yourself within the light of consciousness, or keeping yourself meditating on the one, meditating
exactly. That's a perfect representation of that.
Right.
I can't disagree with that, but yeah.
So that's that. That's
that.
And if it wasn't for our debating and clarifying the way I'm thinking, I might not have in that moment came to that conclusion. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So to some extent, you believe that there's a higher power.
To some extent, I found God.
Cool.
All right, Ekam. Good talking to you again.
Good talking to you, Kellan.
Have a good night. Peace out, everybody.
Peace out, everyone. Stay tuned for episode 7.